at the UN, I had a chance to talk to Kofi Annan. I called him to take his opinion about what he heard at the UN. And Mr. Annan told me, he said, Fadi, the momentum right now is in Latin America. It's not in Africa. It just happens to be Latin America. Because the Latin American countries are right now rising to figure out how to govern the internet in a unique way. And I think Africa is coming right behind it. But right now, he said, and so this is Mr. Annan himself, he told me, go to Latin America. Go there. And I did. And I didn't know I'd meet President Rousseff. How am I going to meet President Rousseff? I just went to meet with our community, CGI. What do you think? What do we do? And one thing led to the other. In 2-3 days, I'm in Brasilia. They said, you need to meet the president. And the president agreed to meet me. This was a miracle. I'll tell you, this was a bit of a miracle. Because I was with President Mujica's people in Uruguay, and they wrote her a letter to meet me, but she didn't. She refused to meet. She said, who's this guy? Why do I need to meet him? But something happened in Brasilia that was a bit miraculous. I'll admit that, I don't know how you'll take it, but if you haven't been to Brasilia, of course, is a beautiful city. And in the middle of Brasilia, as you know, Brasilia was built by a very famous architect. And in the middle of the city, he built a beautiful church. Have you seen that church? I took a picture with my iPhone, but that's how it looks like. It's a gorgeous church. And so I went to the church that morning, and I asked for some help because I did not feel good about where things were heading. Because the day before I saw President Rousseff, she said publicly, she said the solution is at the UN. Not only at the UN, she said it the day before. You can go see her blog. So I was in front of President Rousseff. And I sat with her just like this, like Cheryl's sitting. She sat next to me, and I looked her in the eye and I said, President Rousseff, you spoke the truth at the UN. I thank you for that. But now, how do we get beyond this and get into a solution? You want a solution, don't you? She said, yes. I want it. She's very pragmatic. She said, I want a solution. I said, so you think you're going to get the solution at the UN? And she tilted her head. She said, well, where else do you want me to go? Where do you want me to go? I said, well, there's something called the multi-stakeholder community. You are a leader in that community. And she says, yes, I know, the CGI. And she says, where is the CGI people? Because in the meeting, the CGI people were not let into the meeting. This is a long story. So I told her they're outside. So she told her chief of staff, go call them, have them come in. These are the Brazilian multi-stakeholder leaders. So she brought them into the meeting. And it was really remarkable. Because at that point, all the parts of her government who have been maybe sometimes sparring over multilateral or multi-stakeholder, multilateral being intergovernmental, they were sitting at the table with us. And the president chose multi-stakeholder. And tomorrow morning, this is news I'm sharing with you, tomorrow morning, the government of Brazil will have a press conference at 9 a.m. our time, and will announce that President Rousseff is calling for, and I quote now, the first global multi-stakeholder meeting on the future of internet governance. Okay? It'll be in April next year. So this is transformation. Why is it important for ICANN? And then I stop. Some people are telling me, this is not true. This is not why we elected you, Fadi. You should be, paying attention to SAC and RSAC and GTLBs. And I do. I am. Believe me, this is why we're not sleeping a lot these days. I'm not paying attention. We have a superb team, and tomorrow in the morning when I speak to all of you, I'll show you how much we've accomplished. There's a lot that has been accomplished. And we continue to work very hard at ICANN on our core business. But we also have to pay attention to the environment. If we don't pay attention to the environment, we will feel pressures. Two kinds of pressures. One pressure that I am already feeling is people coming to me, serious people, government people as well, saying, hey, ICANN runs so well, why don't you take on all these new subjects? Why don't you take on more subjects? We want to announce that ICANN should do, privacy stuff. Oh, no. I am into names and numbers. That's all I want to do. And we don't want to make ICANN grow further. We don't want ICANN to become a big organization, because we'll become like any big organization. Quite the opposite. We need to keep focused on our knitting and do it well. So we don't want ICANN to continue feeling pressure to expand its job. We should stick to our job and do it well. The second pressure we'll get is if the world starts moving to internet governance in a multilateral, which equals intergovernmental model, without all stakeholders participating in the consensus decision making, we will feel that pressure too. Because the next thing people say, well, why are we doing privacy this way? I think this UN agency or this intergovernmental group should also take on names and numbers. So we will feel that pressure. So it's important that we are part of an ecosystem promoting the multi-stakeholder model to preserve ICANN's role and our multi-stakeholder nature. And I need you for that. I'm done. I decalcified a few things. I re-energized a few things. But I can't continue alone. ICANN will fail without each one of you stepping up and continuing to do. I'm not asking you to do anything new. I know all of you have been engaged in these debates. But now we need to energize it. We need to find a common way to do it. And so the creation of OneNet was in Bali so that ICANN, all the iStars, the business community, the CCTLD community, the civil society, the academics, all of us have a voice together. Because we all have, and that doesn't mean it eliminates our private voices, individually or as at large or ALAC. We all have our voices, we continue them. But then, when the world wants to hear us one, united, the OneNet initiative was created by more than 300 people that met in a crowded room in Bali and said, let's do it together. Let's get our voice out together. And OneNet will need us, each one of us. So I encourage you to engage in the dialogue, to participate, to make your voices heard, to make our voice heard everywhere in your communities. We need each other. This is the moment. This is the moment. And if we miss it, we will be marginalized by a global debate that is very powerful. Is this helpful?